Welcome to another episode of AI Tourism Talks. Today, the topic is the human side of AI adoption in tourism, how to make AI actually work inside real teams. My name is Ivan Ivanovic, and I'm the founder of AI Tourism Innovator, and also obviously the host of AI Tourism Talks. I help travel tech companies and travel brands get visibility, engagement, leads, and clients via AI-powered content and strategies. Also, I write AI Tourism Innovator Digest. Maybe some of you are already subscribed. And every Saturday, you have opportunity to get this newsletter and digest around AI tips, of course, some prompts that you can use, and let's say tiny playbook for travel pros. So let's keep this fast and useful. Drop first in the comments from which city, country you are attending this live. And of course, you can, in the meantime, post comments and actually your questions, and we will, at the end of the session, try to answer all the questions. If not, Peter has agreed also to stay afterwards and to answer these questions. I have a great pleasure and honor to have today with me Mr. Peter Pilarski, the founder of Tourism AI Network, and also for me, one of the most prominent tourism professionals globally. So he is known making AI simple and genuinely useful for tourism teams with over 20 plus years of experience across digital marketing and communication. Peter, welcome to the show and thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Great. So before we dive in, I will just tell to the folks and to the attendees which is the workflow of today's session. We will, of course, Peter and I, we will have a conversation around this topic, how to adopt AI in a human way. At the end of this conversation, Peter will share his slide and share one, let's say, practical tip also from real world and his experience. And after that, we will get back to your questions. So let's start with the first question, Peter. Let's say a team wants a win in 30 days, for example. What one use case should they start with? And how do we measure or how they should measure success? Hours saved, response time, quality, whatever is the topic.
Yeah, sure. No, thanks for the question. And I'll just say that obviously it's a difficult question to answer because there's a lot of use cases out there. And I always tell people, start small and grow. And so don't try to take on the world all at once. Start with some small use cases. And actually, I'm gonna not even get into necessarily a specific use case in as much as I'm gonna talk about context and building context and agreeing on context. And so one of the things I talk about a lot when it comes to AI adoption across teams and organizations is really aligning on sort of the foundational context that needs to sort of be agreed on by your team in order to make AI work across your team. And so what I mean by that is, there's a couple of good context documents that you can create, 4 or 5 documents that'll help you get extremely good lift off AI tools. And so examples of that are organizational essence context brief. So, what is your organization about? What are you trying to do? Those types of things. Service understanding briefs. So what do you do? And why do you do it? Things like client intelligence briefs. Who do you serve and how do you serve them? And kind of how do you measure success? communications. How do you communicate with your clients? So for me, actually, I like to, even before getting into use cases, I really like to get teams to align around context, because if your team can build 4 or 5 context documents that you can agree on and sort of approve across the team, now you can start to build those documents into your AI systems, into your custom GPTs, and then now you can really start to get lift off your AI tools. So I actually don't even like to start with use cases, but to answer your question, once you build those context documents out, and once you sort of have this sort of a structure in place, now all of a sudden, you can start to tackle things like answering questions from your customers, or whatever it might be, right? And I always like to sort of measure it in terms of, number one, speed, and number two, in terms of accuracy, right? So obviously, if we build good context, and then our accuracy is going to be there, right? So FAQs could be another good context document, common questions. So if we sort of arm our AI systems with the right information, we can really get accurate results quickly, and that's sort of how I like to start off.
Excellent, really comprehensive answer. Where do smaller teams usually get stuck in your experience? Is it like people, training, or processes? And what's the fastest solution or the unlock of this issue?
So I think where people get stuck most is that they don't have a common understanding even of what AI is and how it can be applied, right? And so again, for me, I'm a communicator by training, by background, and I always sort of like to say, if we don't all have a common understanding, then we can't move forward together as a team, right? So to me, it really starts off with, some level of basic AI literacy and basic AI education, so that everybody has the same understanding or the same starting point about what we're talking about. You can imagine, you got people in your organization, some are early adopters, and some are super resistant. And so, people are coming at this from very different perspectives and different places, and people are getting information from different places, right? So there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of, I tried AI once 3 years ago and it sucked. And so that's my perception of AI. So really starting off with a common understanding about kind of the state of AI today, what are the tools, how they can be used, how they can apply. That's to me the starting point. And then once you have a common understanding, then you can start to move forward as a team, start to unlock, potential use cases, trials, little pilot projects, and move forward from there. So to me, I guess, it's really comes down to AI literacy and AI education, and really common across the organization so that everybody has the same starting point.
Excellent. About the AI literacy, I just read an article about in China. There's a case now. They're introducing AI literacy in primary and secondary school. Can you believe this?
Yeah.
So before we continue, I would like to greet our dear beloved attendees. There is Philip here. Hi, my friend. From Africa, Nigeria, there is here Anil, yes, UA, also Denise Summers, I think you also know her. There is Christine here, Canadian Rockies, and there is Kendall, Camus BC, there is Matush from Tenerife. And those are the comments for now. So let's continue also with the questions. I'm sure that you are used to in this situation, and this question will be relatable to your experience. For leaders who say, I'm not technical, I'm not tech person, right? What does good leadership looks like during AI adoption?
Yeah, great question. So, I'm not technical either. It may surprise a lot of people, but I am technical enough, probably more technical than most, but I'm not sort of a technical person necessarily. I hire a lot of technical people and lead a lot of technical people. And so I've learned over time that, you do have to get your hands dirty. To me, spending a little bit of time on tools and, working with AI tools in your own workflows is a really great way for you to start to build what I call AI intuition or an intuitive understanding of where AI might be able to help, how it fits and how it doesn't fit. So like really for me, I always we actually have a program called an AI intuition sprint where we really like to start off with leaders and just spending time with leaders, literally working on what are you doing today? Let's use AI to help you solve that problem, and helping them understand sort of intuitively how it works and where it fits and where it doesn't. That's about the level that they need to kind of get to. They don't need to get too far, obviously they need to have technical people, below them that understand things more deeply. But really that intuitive understanding will help you start to understand, okay, this is how I can lead my team. This is how I can support my team. I sort of intuitively understand this technology, its limitations, where it's strong, where it's not strong. So that's really where I tell people to start. But what's really exciting about AI relative to other technologies is that unlike, when the internet came in and all of this promise of these amazing things that were going to happen, it was really hard to actually get any value out of it. Whereas AI tools immediately produce value if you start using them, right? So, you get those aha moments, what I like to call, very quickly when you use the tools. And so those aha moments are sort of what spark that curiosity and that interest and that sort of desire to sort of, be open-minded about AI and where it can fit and how it can apply. And then beyond that, then it's really about actually culture, structure, setting up your teams for success in terms of setting up guardrails, letting them know kind of where they can play, where they can't play, those types of things. So really those are just leadership functions, not technical functions. So I really try to encourage leaders not to be, intimidated by the technology. Just get your hands dirty and then think about all the sort of things you do normally as a leader to support employees with any kind of programs or any kind of services you deliver.
Yeah, I remember that you and I were talking about how AI should be adapted bottom up or the other way around, and you said usually you are doing vice versa, right? Not bottom up. You're starting with the leaders, right?
Yeah, and so like it's actually a bottom up and a top down conversation. So it's both, but really, the top down should be about supporting, creating the culture, creating the space, creating, the opportunity, and the top down should be about innovating. Because at the end of the day, if you're a CEO, if you're a leader of an organization, you actually don't know really, despite maybe having standard operating procedures and things like that, how the work gets done. It's the people that sort of do the work every day that know what works, what doesn't, how it gets done. And really it's that knowledge that leads to kind of the real value of AI adoption, right? If every single person in your organization can improve, just by 5%, their speed, their efficiency, their accuracy, you start to, multiply that across your organization from a bottom up perspective. That's really where you start to get lift. And really the top down part is just about creating the space, creating the opportunity, and creating a safe place for people to experiment, play, creating some guardrails, and supporting with education, training, and obviously things like roadmaps and strategies.
Excellent. Not to forget to mention that people who are attending here live, they should pose their questions and comments, but first of all, questions to you, and I will encourage them to use this opportunity to have you on this session and to have this such an expert in this field and to ask questions while we are in discussion. So the next question is exactly about files and SOPs, the standard operation procedures and playbooks. So what's good enough, so to say, in your point of view, to start maybe not tomorrow or next week, but in the following period, and to make wins repeatable again and again?
Yeah. So I mean, it's again where I started with is building those five or so context briefs. To me, good enough is actually about people on the team all agreeing that, yes, this is our organizational essence. This describes us. This is our process. So it's really agreeing first that this is what it is. Obviously getting it written down, just getting anything written down, because I talk to a lot of organizations where a lot of processes just happen and they're just in the heads of people, right? So just getting anything down is a starting point, because at the end of the day, I should make the point here, Ivan, is that, while we're learning how to use AI tools currently, what we're really doing is we're preparing for a future where AI agents are going to be part of our workforce. And it's just like, I think I encourage leaders to think about it just like employees. So, if you have a new employee that's starting in your organization, you can't just say, here's a strategy, go implement it, or not even, here's something, go do it. You need to explain to them where all the files exist. You need to explain to them the process and the tools that we use. You need to explain to them, give them examples of what good looks like, right? So the same way that you would teach an employee and set up an employee for success is the same way you need to think about setting up your AIs for success, right? And so, so good enough is, actually just getting it down on paper, agreeing on some common language, agreeing on, yes, these are the services we offer. So it doesn't even have to be complex. Obviously, you can make it more robust as you go, but just, to me, there's 4 or 5 kind of context documents that sort of set you up for success. Start with one process and start to work through that process. And if you can visualize a process and say, okay, here's our process, here's the steps, here's where we think AI might be able to, play a role. And then, okay, let's add AI there and see what happens, right? And so, start small with small experiments, and, don't try to go and AI your entire process from beginning to end without humans, because that's not the place to start, right? So I always sort of say, start small and grow. And really it comes down to agreement across your team on not only like the what and the how, but also just sort of like on kind of, your team needs to agree on what good enough looks like. And then, then you just need to experiment and just try things. And you'll see when you actually sort of put all of those things into an AI system, if it works or not. And then you can iterate and go and iterate as you go, right?
Excellent. Now is the time for you to share your slide. I have to add it to the stage. You see it, right?
Yep. Yeah. So this is sort of our AI adoption framework roadmap process that we've created at Tourism AI Network, and this really came out of a lot of conversations with a lot of tourism organizations, DMOs, things like that, and also
just 1 second. Peter. Just to ask to the audience, do they see the slide? Do you see the slide? Yes, now they see. Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
Now they see.
So the slide really kind of, for me, everything we've just been talking about in terms of how I like to think about AI adoption. And I always like to tell people AI adoption is a people and culture issue first, a systems and processes issue second, and then a technology issue third. And one of the biggest mistakes I see amongst actually people in tourism and beyond is, the first question they want to ask me is, here's 10 tools that I think are awesome, which one should I buy? And that is not the place to start, right? The place to start is, again, this AI literacy workshop. It's like, let's all have a common understanding first about what we're talking about, what this technology is. These AI intuition sprint blocks is, again, now we are getting some time on tools, but it's really the whole purpose of the AI intuition isn't to get into the sort of nitty gritty of the tools and which tools should we pick. It's just about using some tools and teaching concepts on the tools themselves. And so that's really important, is actually learning the concepts while using the tools, so it sort of feels practical. And then, from there, really we get into, creating alignment. And so, and sorry, I should mention the building your productivity system workshop we do as well. That's where we get into building context briefs, SOPs, some structural things, so that we just sort of teach the foundations. And then really the AI leadership survey, or the leadership AI survey, the employee survey. What I found, Ivan, is that often there's quite a disconnect between leaders and employees. And I'm going to share a quick story here. I had an AI adoption framework process we were taking a company through, where the leader wanted to be the absolute leader in the industry. They wanted to be number one when it came to, being AI first and AI adoption. So that's sort of what came out of the leadership survey. we surveyed the employees, and about half the employees said, if we go down this route, I'm leaving this organization. And so that led to a lot of very interesting conversations. Ultimately, we got everybody there because we took the time first to understand where employees were coming from, where employers were coming from, and starting to create alignment between employees and employers. And honestly, the employees, there was just a lot of misunderstanding. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of, oh, you're just using this to replace me, the type of stuff. So we had to address all of those with some conversations and some discussions, right? And then from there, we build an AI vision, mission, and core values, and responsible AI use policies and principles, which is really kind of gives the parameters and the roadmap, starts to frame out the roadmap in terms of what people can do, what they're allowed to do, because again, there's a lot of AI use happening, and there's a lot of companies not talking about it, and there's a lot of shadow AI use. There's a lot of shady stuff going on, a lot of dangerous stuff when it comes to data integrity, things like that. So people are looking for guardrails. People are looking for leaders to tell them what's okay and what's not okay. And then we work on developing an AI council. So that's a bit of a working group internally that's going to sort of actually lead AI initiatives and some structure on how to lead those AI initiatives. And then we sort of finish off with the remaining intuition sprints, just sort of finish off the training. And all of that comes together to develop a strategic AI roadmap based on a lot of conversations, a lot of insights, a lot of understanding, and sort of addressing fears, all that. So the roadmap is designed specifically for the organization. It's not sort of some, generic document that everybody gets the same thing. It's very, very specific based on everything we heard and everything we learned about your organization. Because I always tell people, you got to really start off where you got to figure out where your starting point is and figure out where you want to go, and then just determine if it's actually a reasonable timeline to get there, and scale back if you need to. So that's sort of the process that we put people through. And to me, it really addresses, all of the elements and all of the things we've seen both in experience and also in the literature as to why AI adoption fails. So that's sort of why we designed this process the way we did.
Thank you, Peter, for this great roadmap and everything that you do. And now we should come back to the Q&A section. If there are any questions. If there are no questions, I will ask you the questions. But we are just waiting for the questions from the people who are attending. Are there any questions for Peter here now? Anybody? Juan, Alex, Philippe, Anil, Denise, Christine, Matush, Kendall also. If you have questions, please just put them in the comments, and then we can ask Peter. If not, I can ask you from my also personal experience. I realized actually that everybody is talking about AI. Of course, we are in this field, and of course, we are not tech people, as you mentioned. In tourism, everybody is in people's job and work. So this is our job in tourism, and tech is here to support us. So, but everybody's talking about AI, especially if you are present on these circles of creators and on LinkedIn specifically, where I am present, where you are present. But my experience is that really, let's say, a low percentage of people are actually even have information about AI, not leveraging, not using AI, even have information. So everybody's talking, this year is like 2025 is about AI agents and etc. Everything we will develop so soon. All will get out of their jobs because of the AI. My experience is, and that's my question to you, is that really small amount of percentage of people, and of course the tourism professionals especially, they are not leveraging, they're not using AI, they're not using in a proper way. If they're using any, they're using like free version of LLMs or other tools with one prompts, if any. What is your experience in this field?
You're 100% correct on that. I speak at a lot of conferences, and I always ask a series of questions at the conferences I speak at. And question number one is, who's using AI tools? And that question comes up, or now, when I first started doing presentations, 30% of people put up their hand. Now it's like 95, 98% of people. Who's using a paid AI tool? Starts to go down to maybe 50% of the people now. Who's ever customized an AI tool for specific use cases? Now we're down to like maybe 5 people in a crowd of 150 people or whatever. So that's kind of how I always gauge where people are at. So I sort of say it, and this is a little bit tongue in cheek and a little bit it's sort of like I'm a PR and a communications professional by sort of my background, and I always say to people, it's AI reminds me of communications, where it's like I speak English, therefore I know how to communicate, and that's not exactly the case. And I think AI is similar. Well, I use ChatGPT, therefore I understand how to use AI, and it's like you're probably only scratching 1% of actually what you can get out of AI. And so to me, what's the missing factor is AI literacy and hands-on AI training. People need the training, and the data supports that. There's a lot of studies out there showing that 4 out of 5 people are looking for AI literacy training from their employers. Those types of things, right? So that has to be where it starts. And I can tell you, it's not just the tourism industry that's slow to adopt. Every industry is slow to adopt. I'm meeting with a company that's not in tourism next week. A year and a half ago, they got licenses for 20,000 employees, and they're telling me it's not, their AI implementation is failing. But it's like you just gave 20,000 employees a tool without any training or education or roadmaps or any parameters or anything. Like that's never going to succeed, right? And so it really has to start off with people and culture first. It really has to start off with understanding where people are at, understanding technology curves. Who are your early adopters and those influencers in your organization that can support others? Those types of things, right? So that's kind of the missing element, and that's really where I'm a broken record on this, but really where people need to start. And just start having conversations in your organization, right? Don't assume, ask questions, have a conversation about it. Who's using what tools, right? That's the starting point, right? And it's just not enough of that conversation happening.
It's actually it's weird. I had another guest before you, because I started this show in June, so it's brand new. But I had Peter Pilarski, who is from Tourpreneur, really experienced, tourism professional, and he also mentioned the same issues as you, and the possibility to leverage and to use AI are endless. But what is your prediction in this particular case? When approximately, because tourism, as he mentioned, actually, the Peter Pilarski is, and we know it, and it's also my professional background, is the most complex industry in the world ever in civilization, with 20 plus industries involved within. So I don't know why they took tourism to be a use case, because it's really hard to adapt it. But let's be positive. What's your prediction, except all the information that you already gave during this session? When should this shift happen, and when, especially in tourism and travel? And I'm not counting travel tech companies, because they're already, in tech. So when this will happen, this shift? Because if they wait, I'm telling to my network and to my clients and to my people that I'm communicating with, travel brands and tourism businesses. If you wait, the competitors will beat you just like that.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm going to frame this question a little bit in context of kind of how I've been thinking about AI more broadly than just AI adoption, because I'm really starting to see two things happening right now. So there's AI adoption, that's sort of learning how to use the tools and, build systems and processes and all that kind of stuff. But the other interesting thing that's happening is consumer search behavior is starting to change. So I actually think that companies are going to be forced to sort of think about AI adoption, because they're going to be forced to think about being found with AI search tools as consumers are starting to use more AI. So this is the interesting thing about tourism, is that despite the fact that we're sort of known as a bit of a laggard industry when it comes to tech adoption, we have to be found online. And so a lot of companies in tourism actually invest in SEO and digital advertising and all these different things. And we're seeing search behavior change. And so there's a whole scope of work that has to happen on your website and on your digital presence to make sure you remain findable. And actually, a lot of the work that has to happen on your website is similar to the work that has to happen with AI adoption. So what's interesting about what's happening right now is I see the AI search sort of piece leading the AI adoption piece, because more and more companies are going to say, holy crap, I'm not found at all with these AI search engines. What do I need to do? This is hurting my business. And I think that's ultimately what's actually going to force the issue. So I think that's going to start happening now. AI search is growing. It's still not the dominant. People are still Googling a lot, but as more and more AI search happens, and stories start coming out with, gee, ChatGPT suggested this, accommodator versus that, tourism experience or whatever. It's sort of a all or nothing kind of thing, because if you ask ChatGPT where to go and what to do, it's just going to make you an itinerary, and you're probably most people are just going to follow it. So you're either there or you're not, right? So I think that's actually what's going to sort of drive adoption in kind of an interesting backwards way. So that's kind of where I'm spending a lot of my effort now, is sort of matching the two together and making people understand that sort of the work is similar.
Yeah, let's say we like you, me, people in AI, in tourism. Let's say we are fighting for the industry, so to say, to adopt it as soon as possible, because people don't know that already there are over 1 billion users on ChatGPT only. Yeah. And it's huge. And they are only they are not leaving the LLM. They are they are taking decisions within a couple of minutes or whatever within the LLM and conversation with the LLM. Mm-hmm. So it's really super crucial. We have one question from Sammy. He said, how can AI help destinations and businesses move from over-tourism or mass tourism to more sustainable and regenerative tourism model?
Yeah, so that's a big question, Sammy. Thanks for asking it. And it's not an easy question to answer. So first of all, I'll just say that obviously AI systems are really good at analyzing huge amounts of information and sort of synthesizing it for us. So first starting point is kind of understanding the over tourism sort of problem in your region, and understanding which data points you might be able to to sort of leverage to understand what's happening there. But I actually have a vision for something bigger, and this is a conversation that I've been having with quite a few different people. But I have this vision for a social enterprise OTA, so online travel agency, that's actually led by a DMO. And so the concept is, so what's happening, and again, I'm going back to the AI search conversation, but AI search is changing the game when it comes to the OTA market to some extent. And I think there's an opportunity for individual accommodators, but also DMOs to sort of reposition themselves a little bit. And so if you can imagine a DMO playing the role of an OTA, and I call it a social enterprise OTA, and able to then have really good data in terms of like where the actual bookings are happening, where people are coming from, where people are going, sort of really get a good handle on what's happening in destination when people come in these mass, over tourism situations. The DMO may have an opportunity to help redirect people in real time, right? So if we know, gee, there's an event happening over here and it's going to create these traffic problems over here, and in real time we can start to, I'm the kind of person that is like, I avoid crowds like crazy. So like if I had something that said, gee, there's this thing happening over here, but you can go over here and there's nobody there, I'm there. Right.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the destination really starting to get a handle on kind of what's happening in destination in real time. And that's where this like OTA concept kind of comes into play. That's, I think, the opportunity. But there's a lot of work. This is not an easy sort of an easy problem to solve. And even the whole like building a DMO OTA concept, there's a lot of moving pieces to it. So I'm working with a few DMOs right now, creating things like destination knowledge graphs, and starting to map out the destination from an online, presence perspective, and then sort of seeing how we might be able to sort of incorporate a model like this. So I'm having these conversations, but they're still early. So I think there are opportunities to get there, but I think we're a little bit early in knowing the exact use cases and the exact solutions still.
Okay, and there is one really long one, actually several questions from Nizar. He says many DMOs now have AI tools for creating itineraries and recommending activities. While these tools showcase advanced AI integration, how do they differ from someone with no prior knowledge of a DMO website simply using ChatGPT to get activity and attraction suggestions? And based on your experience working with DMOs and on chatbots and AI integration, have these tools led to higher website traffic or increased engagement? Interesting question.
So it's a great question. And what I will say, Nizar, here is, first of all, definitely chatbots, if implemented properly, can help with engagement on DMO websites. So I did a presentation at the British Columbia Tourism Industry Conference last year in partnership with Jeremy from Destination Vancouver, and I encourage everybody to go to the Destination Vancouver website. Their AI chatbot, and if you go to the Tourism AI Network website as well, our chatbot looks the same, but it looks like a Google search bar. And so as opposed to a chatbot in the bottom right-hand corner, sort of buried away, it's the first thing you see when you go on a website. And so it's right there, it's in your face. And one of the things Jeremy told us in that presentation is when they just made that move of moving the chatbot from the bottom right corner into like what looks like a Google search bar, they saw their chatbot engagement increase by 1,500%. So massive increase, right? So that's the step one. But I think, again, I'm going to go back to making sure your DMO website is ready for AI search. And so there's a lot of on-page technical things to do, schema markup, knowledge graphs, like there's a whole bunch of things. You need to reposition your information to make it AI readable or machine readable. So I want everybody to really start thinking about the fact that we're building websites and online presences for two different audiences. One audience is the human audience, and the other audience is AI agents and the AI audience, right? Because we're getting to a place where AI agents are going to be able to take actions on our behalf, or are already starting to. And so we need to kind of prepare our DMO websites for those things. To answer the question about these, itinerary builders and activity recommenders, I'm not sure yet whether people are necessarily that used to going to the DMO website for those types of things. So they're gonna just go to ChatGPT. So my priority is making sure you're found on ChatGPT, Perplexity, Anthropic, Claude, and all the different AI tools. So we actually have a whole service offering that we offer, which is a whole audit using all the different tools with a bunch of prompts and seeing how you show up, seeing how your competitors show up. And that's the starting point. And really need to start mapping out how to kind of make sure you're there from an online presence perspective, so that basically, when somebody's using a ChatGPT or other AI tool, your DMO website information is what's coming up, right? And so that's the starting point. So, there's been a shift over the last 20 years or so since, really Google came in. People used to go to DMO websites a lot more to plan their trips and do all those things. They don't do that as much, but I actually think this AI revolution is going to reposition DMO websites if they do the right job of putting them back at the forefront of the conversation. So again, there's a lot of sort of digital marketing work to do and SEO type work, geo work, if you want to call it. That's the foundational work. Again, and I think that's actually going to lead to a lot of AI adoption internally once people understand how to position information and restructure it for robots. It's the same work of AI adoption and leveraging tools internally.
Excellent. This is pure gold. Thank you, Peter. Slowly, we are finishing here now. I will say 3 takeaways. You will correct me if I'm wrong. So start small, one use case, measure hours saved or quality, train and write it down, a one-page how-to. So it wins repeatedly and over and over, right? And groundwork matters, clean files and simple SOPs like standard operation procedures, right? Okay, folks. I will say that I will post also a replay on YouTube and next week, and I will publish a blog post, a recap with key points from this session with Peter, which is pure gold, and in my newsletter. And if you miss anything, of course, or want to revisit, you will do it in this recap and the replay. And I will use this opportunity to announce the next guest. It's my greatest pleasure to announce Miss Victoria Ludeman. She's not coming. She's joining all the way from New Zealand, like you from Canada, and she's also a tourism expert from. I don't want to say how long, but let's say she's a veteran and she's an expert in AI search. So let's mark your calendars for Tuesday, 30th of September, a little bit different day because we have to adapt it to her schedule, and it's 7 p.m. It will be on 7 p.m. UK time. So to close it up, Peter, thank you. Everything was super practical and useful. Everyone follow Peter Pilarski and Tourism AI Network. If any questions are not answered, or maybe we have some other ones, we will answer afterwards on the LinkedIn Live page. Peter, thank you once again for your time, for your expertise. I think and I believe we should do it regularly.
I'd love to. Yeah.
If you agree. Okay,
sure.
Okay, folks. That's it. My name is Ivan Ivanovic. Thank you for joining the one episode of AI Tourism Talks, and see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.